Hey, so I thought I would try this. So at the start of this unit, I'm going to attempt to do something I've done in the past, and that's a flipped classroom. I used to do flipped classroom in 6th grade. I did flipped classroom in 8th grade, but I thought maybe trying this would be a little bit easier to get notes to you. It's a little more uniform, plus you can pause me at any time. You can rewind, you can rewatch. It's always going to be there for you. So let's do this. We're gonna try this for a bit, and we'll see how we do. Okay. So on your paper, you're going to need a notebook, right? On your paper, you've got your margins here, and at the top, what I want you to put up here is lesson 0. Okay, so this is before we start this unit. Actually, it's review. And then the lesson is going to be 1-step equations. Very simple. So with 1-step equations, we're just undoing one operation. So let's put an essential question down. That's always important. So over here, I'm going to put my EQ. Then I'm going to write how do I solve and check 1-step equations. And that's our goal for today. Okay? Now, there's 3 things I want to tell you before we go on beyond that. First is, as we do this, the most important thing you can remember to do is the math. Which sounds weird, because the thing that I catch kids doing most is they skip the math and just do answers. They pick answers, or potentially what they do is they do math in their head, and that screws them up. The problems that we're going to do are going to get very, very big, very, very fast. So what I need you to do is make sure that whatever you're doing, the math is actually happening. And number 2 is this. Number 2 is leave no doubt. Write it out. Get your work on the paper, because the paper is going to matter. Okay, the paper is going to be the thing that allows your brain to actually do the calculations without having to try to remember and balance all the things that are going on in an equation. Okay? Number 3 then is the whole point of what we're doing now is we are undoing equations to solve, oh, what a terrible D, to solve for a variable. As we undo those equations, what we're going to do is we're going to take something really big and then break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, down to we get something like x equals or y equals a specific number. And then we'll have a value for that answer. All right, let's do some practice of these. I got to erase now. Here we go. So we've moved down your paper a little bit. And we're going to do 4 examples. And those 4 examples are kind of different versions of a theme. I know that last year your equations unit kind of came at a point when you were kind of out of school. So we'll see how this goes for you. So first example here is this. I've got a plus 10 equals -4. Now don't forget what we're doing. We are undoing the equation. So anything we see, we have to do the opposite of to take it apart. Now, when we work on this, the one thing we want to make sure we are trying the we're trying. Now, what I should expect is, at the end, this a is going to travel down, and I'm going to have equals something. That's at the end. We haven't gotten. So if we're undoing this, because we've got a constant here that's next to our variable, I want to make this in 0, so the a is by itself. So I'm going to subtract 10 for it, or I'm going to bring in a negative 10. If I do that on one side, that's got to happen on the other side too. Equation balanced. It's still equal sides if we do the same thing to both sides. So this and this becomes 0, giving me just a plus 0. And negative 4 and negative 10. So we're just going to put those together. When we combine those two, do we need the 0? A plus 0? We don't, so we have equals. Now we're happy with that, but when we progress, we're going to be from some huge equation. So we need to be able to do the check. And the check has to be honest. Like, don't screw around and just write it and act like it works. The math. So then is I'm going to take this negative 14, and I'm going to do the thing that we practiced. I'm going to substitute it in for a. Then I'm going to rewrite the equation as this. Oh, let me get the blue. Let's do the blue. Where's my blue? Here's my blue. Negative 14 plus 10 equals negative 4. When I combine these two, I've got 4 10 positives. Together they become equals negative 4. And that's an answer that checks. That one works. We solved that one correctly. Let's do another example. I need to get on the eraser here, so I'm just going through tissues like crazy. So slightly more down your paper. Here we go. Second example. Let's go with the purple again. I've got negative 7 plus x equals negative 4 again. Okay, we are trying to undo the equation. We want to solve for x. So we know this is going to end up being something that looks like x equals. So I need the 0 pair for negative 7. I want to make that 0, so I'm getting x by itself. I'm isolating it. So I'm going to put a positive 7 here to this side of the equal sign. And then I want to put a positive 7 over here. That way our equation stays in balance. Which is going to leave me x. I'm writing that just to remind you that's what we're doing. We're making that 0. And this plus 7 here and this plus 7, those positive 7s that we're having, those are our choice. Like, we are inflicting this equation. So we chose to do these two things. All right, so then we've got this positive. I have more positives than negatives. I have 3 more positives, so that ends up being 3. So my answer is x equals 3. Quick check in the red. I'm going to take my 3 right here, and I'll put it right back into the equation right there to give me negative 7 plus 3 equals negative 4. When I put these two, I've got negative 4 equals negative 4. And checker-doodle. That's pretty good. Let's do one with some multiplication. It would be good if I could reuse one. Oh, here's one. Here, good. All right, let me erase. Erase, 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 erase. 2 more. 2 more. Leave room for 2 more. Then when we get done with this, I want you to upload. And then I'll have a little bit of practice for you to do. And then that'll be our day. We'll do this one in blue. Negative 6y equals 72. Now if we're undoing, do the inverse operation here. So what operation do we see here? I see multiplication. So how am I going to undo that? I'm going to divide. Now that gets a little tricky when we use a fraction later on, because we're going to actually kind of skip a step and we're going to multiply, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. We want that to be 1y, so I'm going to divide by negative 6. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is going to leave me 1y. If I'm dividing on -6 over here, dividing by -6 over here. Now, because I told you we're doing the math, I'm going to do the side math. Here's my little 72 divided by 6. 1, 6, 1, 2, 2, 12, 0. I check my signs. I got a negative and a positive, which means I need a -12. Since I already did my side math, and side math is right, I know this is right. Because -6 times 12 is going to equal positive 72. Last one. Erasing music. This is a good one. This is a good one because this has everything to do with making sure you do the math. Because 8th graders who look at this and then tell me the answer's 2. It's not 2. It's definitely not 2. 8 times 2 is not 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the math, right? We're going to start with that. We need this to be 1y. So I want this to say 1y equals something down here because 1 times y is just 1. So I need to divide by 8. 8 divided by 8 is going to give me that 1. Then I have to do that on the other side too. Divide by 8. So this ends up being 4/8. But we can't leave it as 4/8, right? Because we can't leave any answers like 10/12, if you know what I mean. So we got to simplify it. Common factor here, I'm going to divide by 4 and divide by 4. Give me 1/2. Now when I check this, I'm going to put it back in and say 8 over 1. Now that helps me keep my place here when I put my 1/2 in. Times 1/2 equals 4. 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2 equals 4. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Checker-doodle. Okay, upload your notes into Google Classroom, and then when that's done, I have a couple practice runs for you to do. Good luck!